Attention class. Who can tell me what the special education graduation rate was in Georgia during 2012? You. Is it 46.2%? Correct. The drag show will be taking place through those doors in the Tate Grand Plaza, the same place transgender activist Laverne Cox gave a speech just last month concerning trans rights. Now listen to these statistics given by the Williams Institute. Based on research done by the Institute, 41% of transgender people have attempted suicide, as opposed to just 1.6% of the general population, a number some members of the transgender community feel will continue to rise if their suggestions keep getting pushed to the side. And if you can't afford a therapist, you can find supportive people like Series on YouTube. And if that's not your thing, you can follow transgender activists like Carmen Carrera on Instagram. Mother Nature is definitely giving us the cold shoulder this morning. I'm student meteorologist Kevni Woodside here with the weather. Now let's get down to business. A tiny bit of rain coming in over the night, but tomorrow there's going to be a lot of rain. In fact, don't get mad at me, but it's expected to rain throughout the day with temperatures in the 40s. So a winter storm warning was put in place in Georgia at 10 a.m. this morning and is expected to stay, listen to this, till 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. And if you live in the following areas, be sure to stay tuned to Grady News Source for the latest updates. And those areas include from Noonan to Covington to here in Athens. Rain and snow will appear throughout the day and is expected to be just snow by sunset. But before you get in the car and pick up your girlfriends and start building snowmen, you should know to stay off the roads. If you look right here, you'll see that the weather in North Georgia is extremely low. I'm talking lower than my high school GPA. And check this out. On our 5-day forecast, there's going to be rain pretty much every day except that day right there. And you can tell because there's the sun. You can go out, have fun, go downtown, but don't have too much fun because Sunday morning there's going to be some rain and you just not might make it to church. Now, if you look at the donation bucket behind me, you'll see that they made a whopping $7.20, which means bar managers aren't necessarily laughing all the way to the bank, but you can go see Vaughn perform at the last Thursday of every month at Max Canada.
The death of Mikhail Gromosky makes her the 14th student at UGA to die this academic year.
As tragic as that is, the school's vice president of public relations says the number of student deaths is actually well below average.
Reporter Kevni Woodside found out exactly what he meant. So Kevni, what is the university's average?
You guys, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention says, based on this school's large population, they'd expect between 23 and 24 deaths every academic year. However, we receive about half of that. But I talked to one student who says just one death is way too many.
Did you see that? No, was that a body or was that just me?
That's two police officers bringing in a stretcher to carry away his friend. Cromwell Leon was devastated when he heard that his friend since freshman year had passed away.
When I found out who it was, I sort of had this sort of shock come over me.
Leon says he has many emotions about the recent deaths on campus.
Deaths are occurring a lot closer around me than they have in the past. Like, friends of friends are dying.
Tom Jackson is the vice president of UGA's Public Affairs Division. He says the student death rate at UGA has been consistent for the past few years.
As sad as these recent deaths are, these numbers aren't out of the norm. And the average, in fact, at UGA for the past 20 years is 14 or 15 a year, so we're doing better than the average.
There was one year, though, when the death rate exceeded even Jackson's expectations. To know more, we'll have to go back 15 years in the past. UGA students are used to the chapel bell, that bell right there, ringing only for happy occasions such as graduation or a football game. Sadly, on May 1st, 2000, the bell tolled 28 times, once for every faculty member and student who died that academic year. These 11 students passed away in just one semester. Leon says he will hold the memory of Gromosky in his heart.
I mean, how does anyone get over the death of someone they once knew?
The answer is, you don't.
One death is too many. How do we compare to other schools, though?
Well, so far, UGA has had 14 deaths this academic year, and Georgia Tech, which was the only school who got back to us, has had 0.
If we were created in God's image, then when God was a child, he smushed fire ants with his fingertips and avoided tough questions.
That was Buddy Wakefield 6 years ago. He was still riding the wave of sudden fame after winning 3 world championship poetry competitions. This is him now. Wakefield is nearing the end of his 16-month world tour and wants to appreciate the smaller things in life.
Holy Kaylin, is that a Willie Nelson doll?
No, it's not.
At 27, Wakefield quit his job as an executive assistant at a biomedical firm, sold everything he had, and began living in his Honda Civic to pursue his career. Although the risks were worth it, Wakefield says he was in pain back then and still is.
Some people were happy with me the way I was. I wasn't. So I always made it look like my problem was something else other than, so I would try to escape my body with drugs from a very early age.
Wakefield is an openly gay man who struggled with his sexuality when he was young. He is now a gay rights activist and says he wants to leave a lasting message on this earth when he is gone.
If I had a tombstone, it would just say enough. Enough. I was enough. That's how I want to be remembered. I was enough.
If I really was created in God's image, then when God was a boy, he wanted to grow up to be a man. A good man.
This was Wakefield 6 years ago, alone on stage. This is Wakefield now, surrounded by fans. Here in Athens, Kevni Woodside, Gritty News Source. Jonathan Chong is dropping these people off downtown, a place he says is dangerous.
There's a few frat guys that like carrying knives.
Earlier this month, Chong went downtown with his friends. He quickly found himself watching a fight on the sidewalk.
The guy punched the cop and the cop tackled him down. We just see a crowd of people and then one guy swung a punch and then out of nowhere a cop just comes over and tackles him. That was an interesting night. That was actually my 21st birthday.
Jody Thompson is a senior police officer with Athens Clark County. He says attacks against police are actually pretty common. We are assaulted often, and the FBI statistics will prove that. Students can also find themselves in the crossfire, at least in the case of Javade Chapman. Chapman went to a bar named Whiskey Bent to celebrate his 21st birthday last Saturday. Him and a friend ended up being attacked by 6 people he has never met. In the struggle, Chapman struck a cop. Chong says he blames the violence downtown on alcohol.
What can you expect when it's a place full of drunk people?
For me, that's not my story. My story is that I did used to be a guy.
That's April Series. She is a proud transgendered woman. She says, like most trans people, the thought of being attacked left her feeling alone.
I had been dealing with suicidal thoughts starting from puberty, like right around that time, and it got worse and worse over time. I had serious suicidal thoughts. I definitely almost killed myself.
In this report from the Williams Institute, you'll find the following statistics. 72% of all violent crimes against LGBTQ people are against trans women. They also make up 67% of the group's homicide victims. Series says the key to surviving as a trans woman is to not fight this battle alone.
Deal with these feelings because it's hard to deal with it on your own. You need help.
And if you can't afford a therapist, you can find supportive people like Series on YouTube. And if that's not your thing, you can follow transgender activists like Carmen Carrera on Instagram. Series says she has overcome her fear thanks to support from friends. Now, her self-esteem is as high as her heels.
Like I like my body. Like I don't want to trade bodies with anybody. This is a good body.
If you're a trans woman and afraid, Series says to keep jamming to the beat of your own drum, and eventually, you'll love what you see in the mirror. Kevni Woodside, Gritty News Source.